Well, Michael, we're here in your home.
Welcome to Arizona, Jason.
Yes, thank you. And we've got the Christmas tree over there. I don't know that we need to show too much of the house. We got your little buddy.
It's all on
Louis
YouTube
over
already.
there.
You won't show anything that's not already on there. So
Is
yeah,
that right?
Yep, absolutely. I've got videos show this whole house, talking about some of the stuff that's gone on with this house.
Right. I've seen some of those.
Yeah, it's like a haunted house back in the day. You know, it's fine now. It's not too much going on, but yeah, it was like the smoke alarms going off 1 second. As soon as that quits, the lights would go out, or they start flickering, or some kind of electronic interference. It seemed like it was a haunted house. It was so weird. So, and that settled down.
And you said that people have come into the house when you're not here.
Move things around, like that lamp right there. I've come home. That lamp was in that room right there when all of us were gone from the house.
Wow.
Different stuff like that.
Wow.
So, and then the hats too.
Yeah, let's take a look at the hats. That was
hats around the world.
fascinating to see. Hats around the world, exactly. And here we've got
Well,
Willis.
that's Willis. He helps us find hats. He's a
hat hound.
Yeah. Are you gonna help us find hats, buddy? Yeah. So this is Hats Around the World. Welcome.
It's an impressive operation. For people who don't know, they can search for Hats Around the World on Google, or do they put in eBay and Hats
Around the World, all one, no spaces, and then hit a space and enter eBay, and it should be the first link that comes up. So.
It's an impressive home business, Michael. So
Yeah, I never thought I'd be a hat guy, the guy that sells hats, but I got into antiques in California. We had a 6,000 square foot antique store called Relic Rescue that I ran, and so I really learned a lot about vintage and collectible, antique, different kind of things, and I've got a passion for that stuff. And I started selling a lot of it on eBay, and I started buying hats at some point in time, and realized, hey, they weren't expensive to ship, easy to store, and here I am. Now there's around 16,000 hats right here.
wow.
And we separate them all by the color, the type of fastener that the hat has, and then by section, by category. And when they sell, come through here and search for all of them, and go get them all shipped out. Yeah, it's a long process actually.
So what's the rarest hat? Do they vary in price, or?
Yeah, I've sold a hat for over $100.
Wow.
A guy sold a Nike hat for 60 something bucks. I paid 50 cents to $1 for these, and there's a lot of time and effort that goes into it. So they're not expensive, but by the time I'm done, I probably put $4 into each one of these hats before they go online. So we have to make a decent profit. But yeah.
What's the most valuable hat you have here?
That's in here right now. That's a tough one. That is a tough one. Let's see.
And what's the oldest?
The oldest? Let's see. Probably around here. We just sold one from the turn of the century. It was Victorian, from probably the middle 1905, 1910, somewhere around there. Willis, come here, buddy. Help me find a hat over here. So some of these are older, from the
wow.
flapper. That's
like
the older
a flapper
one.
hat.
Yeah, flapper hat. That's probably from the 40s or 50s right there. And then these are all these, old fuzzy hats. These are from the 40s, 50s. A lot of them are real leather.
Baseball caps.
No, a lot of baseball caps, but a lot of these are, got the Crocodile Dundee hat here. And sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to get. One of the guys that ships hats, we get kind of a random grab bag. They might have a giant thrift store or some kind of nonprofit or something, and I don't ask him. That's his business, but they'll ship out 1,000 or 2,000 at a time sometimes, and then we go through them, clean them up, photograph them, list them on eBay, bring them up here, organize them, wait for them to sell, search for the inventory, pack them up, ship them out, repeat.
And so for people who maybe haven't seen you before on Crowdsource the Truth or the Barden report, did you start this hat business because you were targeted and not able to get work, or what was the impetus to start the hat?
I think it turned into this business because I was targeted. Because I remember, now this is part of where it's hard to follow, but there was a couple specific people that asked me when I started my antique store, hey, what do you like better, buying large items and making a large profit, or do you like smaller items making a smaller profit and having more things? And I said, ooh, that would be a nightmare for me if I had a lot of small items that I had to deal with over and over every day. I like the adventure of going out and finding something big like an antique grand piano, or
what do you got here?
These are just more hats.
This thing on
the
wall.
Thing here. Yeah, this is a hand-carved piece of art, and I honestly don't remember where this is from. It might have been from Haiti. But I got this at a garage sale, actually from a firefighter. I talked to him about it, and he bought it while he was on vacation. But somebody carved this by hand, and this is the kind of stuff I personally like. So this is probably from actually the 40s or 50s, this one here, and it's signed on the back. So that's the kind of thing that I would have in my antique store. That and mid-century modern furniture, like the stuff I have in my room
Antique
here.
furniture.
Yeah, yeah, like this
Wow. So you're kind of an antique expert.
is in some things. Yeah, this is Danish mid-century modern
Ooh,
right
look at
here.
the radio.
And actually, that is a newer radio. It's a replica of an older one. It's got a CD player.
Oh.
And yeah.
See, I'm not.
No,
an
it's okay.
antique
People
expert.
don't. Yeah, it's not something people focus on. Yeah, it's just a record player. Play some records and put them on CD. So, but yeah, this is the new Barden Report studio here.
Oh yes, of course. People will recognize that who've watched the show. So, Michael, you talk a lot about gang stalking and being a targeted individual. You mentioned to me the other day on the phone, we should tell everybody probably that you were pretty dejected when I spoke to you the other day, almost as if you were kind
I was
of
about to give up, buddy.
about to give up.
Yeah, the constant harassment and the feeling of helplessness in this, nobody listening, trying to explain this to people, and then immediately not asking questions, but saying, "You're crazy," getting that over and over. You know, they're trying to give them information, instances that are happening to you in your life, and you know that you're not delusional. You know that you're just a vigilant person. Understanding some of this, what's going on, you've done the research, and they won't look into anything. I'm sure you've dealt with this before with the trolls on your show. They just want to tear you down, and I let that get to me over time. And it's not just the internet stuff. It's, you know, driving out in public, in traffic. We had a great time driving. Thanks for going with me. They don't mess with me as much. You know, when I'm by myself, I don't have anybody with me to say, "Oh yeah, I saw that." So, you know, that's tough. But yeah, the position that I was in, I really felt like I had no hope left. You know, I'd paid this attorney everything that I had left. I'm now in a position where I'm month to month. I didn't feel like I could trust this whole system being targeted. If they can get to this many people in a town, they could easily get to 8 to 12 jurors, how many ever are on this case. And that was in the back of my head without being paranoid, but trying to be realistic due to the past situations that I've encountered.
Well, let's just talk about that for a
Okay.
second, because even if people have a difficult time accepting or believing, or whatever the word we want to use, the street theater gang stalking type stuff, you do have a legitimate criminal case. Show us that ankle bracelet again. You've got this thing on, so you're basically under,
Still got my dress on,
perimeter arrest or
Yes.
whatever.
Yeah. I mean, well, they already knew where I was 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this thing is kind of redundant, but now it's official.
But you're disallowed from going to the shopping mall it's right near
Yeah,
your house.
the one closest to my house. It's the convenience store, so it was convenient to go there. And
Not
they
so
said that this thing
convenient.
took place at this store, which basically we pulled out of the parking lot and we're on the street and got in a yelling match. The guy pulled a gun on me, and now I'm not allowed to go in that entire shopping center, and I haven't been able to for over a year.
And let's
to go
just
get my-
reconstruct that for everybody for a second. So the guy pulled a gun on you.
Correct.
You turned your car around and drove home.
Drove home.
He
He
followed,
followed
you,
me home.
and the police were there.
I didn't know they were there at the time. He followed me home and turned on his rotator lights. He was in a construction truck.
Right.
He had yellow and white rotator lights. Turned those on behind me, so I'm blinded. I can't see. Oh,
Here, let's come over here so the air conditioning.
yep, the heater turned on. It's actually cold in Arizona, believe it or not. He turned those lights on. I'm parked at the stop sign directly in front of my house. Actually, maybe we want to go out there and check that out in a little bit. Where it was, I pulled over to the side because my kids were home asleep. I didn't want to pull in my driveway, and hey, the guy just pulled the gun on me and followed me in my house. I don't want to pull in my driveway so he knows where I live.
Right.
So I pulled to the right.
And look, for people who are skeptical, we just follow that logic. How could this guy have possibly known where you live
Where I
if
live.
he wasn't following you?
Exactly.
And why would he follow you if you pulled a gun at him? Wouldn't
Exactly.
you leave
Wouldn't
and call the
he?
police?
Exactly. Wouldn't he fear for his life?
Right.
Wouldn't he? Even if he was a former police officer, which it turns out he was, I think that he would know that it's not his job to play police officer.
Not even a job. I think if he was a police
chase
officer,
me
he'd
down.
be super sensitive to going into a situation where somebody has a gun. Cops
Exactly.
generally don't do reckless, stupid
Exactly.
stuff like that.
Exactly. And you know, the fact that he did follow me to my house. Well, there's a lot of other things too. You know, I talk about a lot of these teams that do this. They drive the same color car. It'll all be all white cars
Let
that
me
day.
keep you focused on the stuff with this guy, because
Okay.
that's, I think, the most tangible information for the most skeptical people to latch onto. And there's evidence. There's things that have been submitted in court. There's affidavits. There's statements.
Yes.
There's lots of stuff. So this guy pulled out a gun out the window of his car,
Correct.
pointed it at you.
Which is on video.
You've got a video of it, and you turned around and came home. You never
Correct.
took out a gun at all
Correct.
during this whole incident. Yeah. And so the police were here. They made recordings of the incident because Officer Miranda, that's her name,
That's her name.
read you the Miranda rights, which is, you know, coincidence.
Who I just happened to meet, Officer Miranda. I had gone to the next door neighbor's house maybe a week before that.
Oh, really?
And she showed up for a noise complaint and got a visual on me
Really?
the week before that. Yes, I forgot to tell you about that. Yeah, we were at our next door neighbor's house over here and hanging out. They were having a party, invited us over, have a beer, have some food. And she showed up at about 1 minute after 10 o'clock. Somebody called the police for noise. And they showed up, and I was standing with some of the neighbors talking to them, and Officer Miranda showed up and said, "Hey, you guys are going to need to keep it down." And it was almost like she was kind of focusing on me too, like I was there. But she definitely seemed to have kind of an interest in me, and I didn't understand. And not too long later, she's reading me my rights.
That is very strange. But okay, so your attorney, Mark J.
Victor.
Mark
Correct.
J. Victor, was able to get the audio portion of the body cam footage from Officer Miranda.
Reading me my rights. Yes.
Now, that's
Just
very strange because people who maybe don't know much about technology, I don't think those cameras would record audio and video separately. It's most likely that it would be concatenated into a single MPEG file recorded
an MP4.
on the body camera.
Yeah, so you would have to put that into some kind of program and separate that audio out of that video unless they were only using an audio recorder, but they were all wearing body cameras. So it doesn't, you know, I just want some answers. We want some answers. Why does none of this seem to add up?
Right.
You know.
And then the other problem is your lawyer he failed to demand the exculpatory evidence, which frankly he should be telling you about,
Yes.
not you telling him about.
I had to discover all of this. Like I said, you know, on my show a couple times, thanks to everybody out there that pointed me in the right direction to discover a lot of the information that my attorney refused to ever share with me. I didn't know what a motion discovery was until after I had accepted this plea deal.
Right.
So, you know, I learned everything I needed to know from, well, you and Brian pointed me in, you know, you helped me. I'm so afraid to say you guys helped me. They didn't give me legal advice. You know, this
well,
is
we
a
just alerted you
yeah,
to
the fact that there's a law.
Should do.
There's a law. This guy should have done this. Somebody on YouTube messaged me, "Hey, get a motion discovery." I'm like, oh, what's that? Looked it up. A motion discovery is a standard procedure all attorneys take part in immediately when the, you know. And I'm going, wait, am I the first person to not go through this process? So, yeah, none
So,
of
I mean,
it.
this is kind of the purpose of Crowdsource the Truth. There's a lot of news programs that want to tell you a story that's, you know, whatever story they want people to know.
Exactly.
And of course, if you're, you know, CNN, Fox, MSNBC, owned by some billionaire, supported by billionaire advertising,
You're going to read their script.
yeah, they don't necessarily care what happens to Michael Barden, but we're building a community of individuals with a news channel that's supported by the community, and that's, you know, I don't want some $1 million sponsorship from someone because they would have undue influence. So these multiple micro sponsorships are really what's great, and you're really trying to do the same thing with Hats Around the World. If people go to eBay and go to Hats Around the World, they can purchase a hat. You're also on Patreon, Michael
Yes,
J.
just started.
Barden.
Yeah, thanks for the, I almost said recommendation, but the, geez, I can't.
No, don't worry about it. But the point is, something like Patreon is really good because it allows individuals like you and I to be independent
to
and
try to
operate
function
independently.
and to keep moving and to keep going forward, and not to get rich. Hey, that'd be nice to be financially independent, and down the road, if we worked hard enough for that and that happens, great, and everybody should work towards that. That's the American dream. But right now, this is just journalists are trying to stay keep their head above water and keep getting this news out to everybody. And if it does not have sponsors, if people aren't, people used to pay for cable, $120 a month.
And
There's
you're watching
nothing on
ads
cable.
on news.
You're watching ads all day. Get rid of that. Watch some infotainment, which some of this stuff is very entertaining. A lot of people say, when I tell them about targeted individuals and this and that, one of the answers I get is, "Oh, my husband loves the conspiracy theories." I said, "Oh, well, you probably want to pass this on to him, and it's not just a theory; it's an actual conspiracy. So check this out."
Yeah. Right. Well, we're learning quite a lot about conspiracies. And actually, thank you for that segue into that, because I'm learning a lot here in Arizona. People may or may not be aware that David George Swigert has taken a particular interest in your case.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to say anything to disparage him. I'm just stating facts about actions he's taken. He took it upon himself to contact your lawyer, Mark J. Victor.
Correct.
Let him know that you're going on YouTube and discussing with people
on your show
the fact that he is failing to
do
conduct
his
his job properly. He's failing to defend you in court. He's failing to demand this exculpatory evidence. It is actually illegal for a prosecutor to fail to do that. So that's another thing we're educating people about. There are different rights if they should find themselves in a court. And David George Swigert thinks it's funny or somehow his duty to contact your lawyer and tell him that you're going to be a witness in a federal lawsuit that
and
get thrown out before you ever even get a chance to be a witness, and to tell your lawyer that you are exploring your rights and discussing your case within your freedom. And he got your lawyer very angry.
Oh, yeah, he called right away. Right when I got back from the school incident, the possible shooter, the lockdown at my daughter's school, right when I walked in the door, my phone rang and it was Mark Victor on the phone, upset with me, talking to me like I was one of his kids, explaining to me that I need to take that information off the internet.
Really?
Oh, yeah. He said, "You need to take that down. You need to quit talking about me in my law firm." I said, "I haven't said anything that is not true, that I haven't said to you, to your face, in your office." So there's no, I'm saying the exact same thing. What's the issue? Well, the issue is he knows that he did not do his job. He intentionally went out of his way to ruin this case and just try to get me to take this plea deal instead of.
We can't speak to his intentions.
I'm sorry. You're right.
But we
in my opinion, the way it feels.
He failed to do.
Yes.
Yeah. So he failed to demand that exculpatory evidence. You asked him to do it. He failed to do it. So you went with a public defense attorney.
Yeah,
and we met him today at the courthouse, and
Mr.
I asked
Miguez,
him, why did you not compel the prosecutor to deliver this exculpatory evidence? And he said it's not his job.
It's not my job. It's not my job.
We've looked into that, and apparently it
is his job. Yeah. So, and I called him. I told him that I would like to. At the point when I talked to him a month and a half ago, I said, "Let's drop this plea deal. This is what I want to do. I've got my letter written up. I'd like to give this to the judge." He said, "Okay, well, just email me your letter, and I'll see you on court on the 7th. See you at court on the 7th." And I said, "Well, I'm sure that we'll have some kind of contact before then." He goes, "Oh, okay." And that was the end of it. And I've got video of that. And in Arizona, it is a one-party permit consent for phone calls. So I just go ahead and record all these calls now. I wish I would have recorded the first call from my attorney when he said, $35,000, I'll take you all the way through trial.
Well, it wasn't
but I didn't record that.
He took you to the trial.
Yeah, no, through trial. He said if you pay me this money, it will take you all the way through the end of the trial, or a plea deal, whichever works best for you. It all works out in the end. It's a wash. I thought, man, that's exactly what I need. This is great. Right. He's a libertarian. He says he's a libertarian. He says he's a constitutionalist. He's got pictures of himself holding an AR-15 and talks about the Marine Corps a lot and stuff like that. But yet when I talked to him about the Constitution, he said the Constitution is a suggestion enforced by the Supreme Court.
That's
and
ridiculous.
I was furious. I had to to hear a fellow veteran say that after swearing to the Constitution to defend it to the death. And then he said, that's a suggestion,
And for people who are seeing you the first time, you were in the Air Force.
This is my old hat.
You were a firefighter?
From headquarters, actually. Yeah, this is the 144th Fighter Wing. Back in the day, guard units could wear a shop hat like this with their BDUs, with their uniforms. So this was one of the ones that I wore in headquarters when I worked in public affairs. So every month I would be at commander's call, and the commander of the base would be sitting right there. I'd be right there doing photos, doing kind of what Jason does for his job in the Air Force. A lot of times it'd be a colonel, full bird colonel, that really needed a photo of his cake, his birthday cake. That was really important, even though we had something going on over here. So that was kind of the joke. There's a video about that on YouTube.
So now the problem that you're in, Michael, is that you've dismissed the public defender because he was failing to do his job. He didn't even seem to realize what the scope of his job was.
No.
And as of this morning, you've got 60 days to come back to the court and basically, I mean, in that time, what you really want to do is compel the prosecutor to present this evidence, right?
Correct. Yes. So I don't know exactly how I'll go about doing that. I don't know if I can get that without dropping the plea deal, but I don't want to drop the plea deal. I want the exculpatory evidence first so I can make an educated decision on what I should do or not.
Well, the thing that you need to do is get another lawyer.
Yes, first and
the
foremost.
problem that you're in right now, as I understand it, is that Mark J. Victor is refusing to return this $35,000 that you paid him.
Exactly. Exactly.
Even though he's violated the Arizona State Bar Association rules of what a lawyer is supposed to do in representing someone in a criminal case.
Correct.
He's violated your rights. He's failed to carry out his job.
I wasted my money. I might have well have just got one of those little make it rain guns and shot it out the window.
Right.
I don't know if, but.
Well, so I think what really he needs to do is he needs to give you that money back, but now you've got this time-sensitive situation. So you didn't ask me to do this, but I do hope people watching this video will go to patreon.com/MichaelJBarden or go to Google and look for eBay and hats around the world, hats around the world being one word, and buy a hat.
All of these links, actually, you can find them on my website. I just started a new website, Barden, BARREDIN.US. And all of the links to all the social media, there's a link to the eBay story here. Everything is right there. You can send me a message. And I thought that would make it a little bit easier. So, but yeah, the financial battle is real.
And this is really what they're trying to do. They're trying to do that to you. They're trying to do that to Dr. Corsi. David Swigert and Robert David Steele are trying to do that to me with their frivolous lawsuits. And this isn't going to work. These guys are going to keep trying to do this, but we're putting this out because it's important that people who recognize that this type of lawfare cannot go on, if you're watching right now, send $1 to Michael, send $5 to Michael. If people can do that and you can hire a new attorney, you've got to compel this prosecutor to present the evidence ASAP.
Yeah, I've got a little bit put aside. I haven't taken any of the money out that I've made on YouTube or Patreon. It's all in there.
Get it out before PayPal decides they don't like you.
Okay. I'll have to do that soon. But yeah, and it's not a lot. It's not a lot. But I was thinking of using that and part of what I've saved up from the last time that I went to court to retain. Not thought of. I'm going to use that to retain an attorney. Now it's going to be a very cheap attorney.
Well, and if
but
there's
it's going to be an attorney
in Arizona, if someone is an attorney in Arizona who's watching who wants to represent Michael, that would be good too.
Yeah, if you want to be an attorney that is part of changing history, because this case is actually bigger than me. This is not just about me. This is about hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people.
Now tell us about that Dennis Montgomery information that just came out that he was talking about 150,000 people in Maricopa County.
So there was some kind of lawsuit that happened, and was it Larry Klayman and Sheriff Arpaio, and some people were having a conversation during the dictation, I believe, for the case, and they talked about, this NSA whistleblower talked about how there were 21 million people affected by illegal surveillance in Maricopa County alone, because they were talking to Sheriff Arpaio, and the case, I believe, is here. He said there were 150,000 people that are affected here in Maricopa County alone. And we're not sure how many people live in Maricopa County, but I think there's 5 to 6 million people here in the Phoenix metropolitan area, or in the outer areas too. 150,000 people's a lot of people to have that could possibly be targeted.
And I would think that Montgomery is talking about electronic surveillance.
Yes. He specifically mentioned bank records and user IDs and passwords for people's bank accounts.
Wow.
Yeah, it's. I just shared the video actually on my Twitter today, I believe, at Michael Barden 8, number 8. So, but that video's on there.
Right. Right. So there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it seems like when you and I talk about it, David Swigert gets very upset, and he starts to attack you online with vicious, things that are...
It's clearly a reaction.
It's a reaction. And it's designed to look to the public like a joke or like he's a troll, but he's contacting your lawyer. He's interfering in a criminal case. That's very serious.
He also apparently flew here to Arizona. I don't know where he posted this video, and he says, "Oh, I'm here in Arizona. I'm at this beautiful hotel. Arizona's great."
Did you feel intimidated when he did
big
that?
time, because when he's in his hotel and he pans over, he just happens to have a 5 or 10 gallon, I don't know how many gallon can of gasoline in his hotel room.
What?
In his hotel room, in the video.
Wow, I didn't
And
notice that.
yeah, and that freaked me out. He flew to Arizona right after he started trolling me, started harassing me, and added me to the website with everybody that's been on your show, or whoever did that website. I just got
Robert
added to
David
that website.
Steele? Oh, no, you're talking about tracking the leopard morass.
That thing. I think he has something to do with that. I don't know.
I
just
suspect you might be right.
Just my hunch. Who knows?
Yeah,
I have hunches that turn out
doesn't
right, so.
seem like an impartial website that's
Oh man, no.
reviewing court cases. It seems to always be in favor of whoever is coming against the enemies of Robert David Steele and David Swigert. It's coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah, man, it's the coincidence factory.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, David Swigert also made a bunch of videos from the Mesa, Arizona post office, which was really interesting.
That's probably where he was. He was probably over on the east side. That's actually where my attorney is, right over there.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder if he met with the attorney.
I bet you he did.
Well, we have no way to know if he
No,
did or
we
didn't.
don't. If we had one of the apps that these guys use where they track all of us, we'd be able to know where they are at all times. So, I don't know. Maybe one of these days.
Well, but today was a victory, Michael. I mean, you got what you wanted out of the court today in terms of a 60-day extension. So you really do need to start looking for a lawyer and coming up with your strategy.
Yep.
I think in a general sense, pleading guilty to a crime that you haven't committed
To
doesn't
ruin my
seem like a
life.
good idea.
I want to vote. I want to be a part of society. I want to be able to hold a professional position in the future.
Let me ask you this. If you wanted to run for office, you can't do that as a felon.
I think you can.
You can?
I think you can.
Oh, my God.
Here's the reason I know, and here's the reason I know this, because Adam Kokesh was going to, or possibly is still going to, run for president in 2020. Now, he got a felony for mushrooms. They found mushrooms on him.
Wow.
He did the research, realized you can run for office if you are a felon. So I thought about that. I really wouldn't want to. It's not a passion of mine, but if I receive a felony,
but you're in
this.
your 40s. Who knows? When you're 50, 60, you might want to...
Well, I'm saying if I had received a felony, that might push me into becoming a politician to do something about this. It's like the more they do this to me, the more I react, the more I make videos, the more I don't stop.
Right.
And I would think that they would get that by now. It's almost like it feels like they want me to do something.
Yeah, that's right.
But I will never stop doing this, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, and you just reminded me of something, Michael. For people who are watching these videos that you and I do, who are disgusted by this type of harassment and trolling behavior, I think really one way that it can stop is if you're looking at a video on the Michael Barden YouTube channel or on the Barden report or on Crowdsource the Truth, and you see a comment that is obviously deliberate troll comment, let that troll know that you're sending $5 to Michael, or you're sending $5 to me, or you're going on to patreon.com/MichaelJBarden or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and becoming a sponsor specifically because of their troll comment. If every troll comment results in Michael or I or your favorite YouTuber who's getting trolled
they wouldn't
becoming
like us
economically more powerful, it'll stop the trolling because it'll reverse the impact that it's intended to have. And really only our audience can do that. So I hope that
Damn good idea.
people will consider doing that. And the other thing I want to say about Patreon that I'm trying to say as frequently as possible, I really can't understand how this situation has occurred, because when I met Jack Conte, he seemed like a really nice, really sincere guy. He specifically said he doesn't want the company to be bought out by Facebook or Google or whatever. And you know, it's interesting. Perhaps there was someone in that audience of about 1,000 who heard that comment and realized they needed a different plan for Jack Conte. David Hawkins has suggested that we should, at first, take the assumption that Patreon wants to do the right thing, but perhaps someone is influencing.
Yes, and they might have been given an ultimatum.
And that might have come from MasterCard and Visa. So I wonder, all these people who are leaving Patreon, have you stopped using your MasterCard? Have you stopped using your Visa card? Because those might be the parties that deserve your ire, not Patreon, and certainly not Michael or I or your favorite YouTuber who's just trying to earn a living, going and bringing you firsthand information, interviewing Michael, speaking to his public defender, observing the prosecutor there in court, going and speaking to the postal inspector at the Mesa, Arizona post office about conspiracies to commit mail fraud.
There's a lot going on here in Arizona.
That's not information that you can just get anywhere. That's information that someone needs to get on an airplane and pound the pavement and find.
Go out and do it.
Absolutely. So, Michael, I hope that people will buy a hat. I hope that you, sincerely, I hope that you will find a competent lawyer who can take care of you and help you make the right decisions in handling this case. I would urge anyone who has not committed a crime to avoid the pressure of a plea deal, because we have learned in 2018 how incredibly dangerous that is. When you look at people beyond even your case, you look at people like Michael Cohen, who knows what they're influencing him to do and say.
And it's like it's become standard operating procedure for these people that they just expect you to take a plea deal. And if you try to plead your case and say, wait, this isn't right, I'd like you guys to look into this more, they say that's not how the process works. Or you're going to need to say that at a different time, or this and that. There's no communication if you are trying to do this. And the percentage is 97% of people that take a felony take it by way of plea deal.
That's a problem. That's not the Justice Department. That's the plea negotiation department, and that is not justice. So, Michael, I can't give you legal advice. I can only give you advice as a friend, as a colleague, as a person who's coming to know you, and I don't think people should be intimidated into admitting to things that they didn't do, and that is why I stand by Dr. Corsi. In addition to considering Dr. Corsi a friend, I think he's showing incredible bravery, incredible resilience to stand up and say, I refuse to take a plea deal. I refuse to lie to incriminate the president. And you see, it's just, they're not going to go away from one little thing. We need to keep resisting.
Keep pushing, yes, because they will never stop. And I talk about sociopath, psychopath, narcissistic kind of personalities. Some of these people that have made their way up to the top of a lot of these corporations, a lot of government, are those type of personalities, and they will never, ever, ever stop. I didn't know this before. This was kind of new information to me, but these people need to be removed, and they don't know how to change, basically.
Right. Well, you've just hit it. They won't never, ever stop. They will stop, but the order in which it happens is, first, we identify it. We expose it. We reveal it. We point out who the perpetrators of this type of activity are, whether it's somebody on YouTube, whether it's somebody at the Dairy Queen, whether it's somebody who's a public defender, who's a prosecutor, a judge, a federal judge, special counsel, whoever it is. We cannot be in a country that is run by criminals, or is run by intimidation and thug tactics and gang stalking, and this is domestic terrorism.
It absolutely 100% is domestic terrorism.
Psychological terrorism.
Psychological operations. I talk about psychological operations all the time, and one of the things that people don't realize is a psychological operation is meant to destroy your mind. It's something that other people can't see. When there's a gunshot, there's a term in the news, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's because people have a visceral reaction to that scene. When there's a psychological operation towards an individual, it's invisible. So when that person talks about that, nobody can process that really, because they're so used to seeing everything on the news. If it's negative, it's bleeding. Other than that, you don't have a problem. So it takes a lot of thought for people to understand the theory of what this is. And thankfully, there is some media that's starting to put some of the information out, not in the targeted individual community, in other areas. It's being put out.
Yeah, it's transcending the small community. I mean, it's an interesting evolution because at some point I had never heard of it. People started talking about it. The internet obviously was very helpful in that. And then it's got to reach a tipping point where enough people realize, hey, this is a thing.
Yep.
I mean, it's kind of like 9/11. You know, there was a time when it happened, you know, on September 12th, 2001, I thought 19 guys crashed planes into the
Me
buildings.
too, and I was ready to go get them.
And then you learn, so there's a
Real
tipping
quick,
point.
I learned, because I did get to meet some of those guys actually.
Which guys?
The New York firefighters that survived 9/11. The owner of Pelco out in Fresno, Pelco is a surveillance company, and he personally paid for this party, and he flew 300-something New York firefighters out to Fresno, California, on charter aircrafts. I personally and another guy, Ned Ferguson, we took our crash trucks out and shot a water rainbow over the top of the runway when all those firefighters came in to greet them.
Nice.
They threw him a giant party with an Elvis impersonator. He took all those guys up to his private mansion up in the hills, and they had a big party, and I got to, some of these guys rode around in our trucks with us.
Well, there's a brotherhood among
Yeah,
firefighters.
yeah, they came into the station, we showed them around, we swapped stories, they told us stories about 9/11,
So
we
how
told
do
them
you
stories about
explain
Fresno.
that a fellow Air Force veteran, a fellow emergency services worker like Swigert, why would he act this way?
He is part of some kind of an organization that is pushing for this, that is paying him.
That's
He
your
has some
opinion.
kind.
That's
That's my
your
opinion. It's just my opinion. He has some kind of interest in this that is, or in an organized fashion.
And
That's
maybe not apparent to the public.
to other, exactly. And there's a lot of the way that these people operate in these targeting programs is they make sure that they have an out. They make sure that they have a plan B. They make sure they have plausible deniability. So no matter what they do, they think these skits out before they do them. So as they are doing the skit, they have the answer in their head. The guy that slammed on his brakes in front of me the other night had his answer prepared for me before I said anything. And I said, hey, he slammed on his brakes. I almost ran into him. I pulled up next to him and I complained about his headlights. And he said, well, the light changed. The light changed. He had his answer ready for me. He answered a different question. You see what I'm saying?
You asked him something about
I
his
asked him
headlights.
something
He
completely
was
different.
answering
He
about
answered the
short
question
stop.
because he had already prepared it in his mind, and that's what these people always do. They
Right.
always have an answer.
Right.
And then if you say, no, I know what you were doing, that's when they say, quit being so paranoid.
Well, and they try, right,
And
they try to make you
they
seem
gaslight
crazy
you.
or
Gaslighting.
silly.
Gaslighting.
Right,
1944 movie. Could
Right.
coin the term.
Yeah, I mean, did you find it interesting when David George Swigert made his comments about Robert Mueller saying that, oh, he's won the Navy Heart or whatever, Silver Star.
I saw a little bit
How
about
could
that.
he possibly be a traitor because he's done all this stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, the fact of the matter is, whatever the guy did in the Navy, whatever he did in Vietnam or wherever he was, has nothing to do with
He could have
any
saved
potential crime he might be doing now in
especially.
2019.
Yeah, that's currently affecting the freedom of our American citizens.
Yeah.
You could have saved the world back then, but now if you're trying to ruin it,
Doesn't give
it
you a
doesn't.
free ticket.
Yeah,
to do
exactly. So,
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of pressure on you, Michael. I appreciate what you're experiencing, and I'm really glad that you made the decision to give it another try and find a lawyer who's going to represent you properly.
yeah, I can't give up.
You can't give up, and you sounded really sad on the phone the other day, so I wanted to come out here and be with you in court, and whatever decision you came to was obviously the decision that was going to go, and I'm glad you made the decision that you did, and I hope you find
I
a
am
lawyer
too.
who will help you.
I feel good about it, and whoever's out there, somebody in Arizona has got to be a truther. There's got to be somebody that is not part of this thing that can help me, that will put this evidence forward. This is going to come out eventually anyway. Be the first one to defend a targeted individual and be on the right side of humanity, you know.
But we should also clarify, this is not a passive call for you to get a lawyer. You're going to be
No.
actively
Oh yeah,
pursuing.
no, I've got a list of them already
Okay,
that I was
good.
ready to read to the judge when I thought he might say, who is your attorney? I
Nah,
say,
he
well,
just gave you a
I don't
couple
want to
minutes.
retain an attorney yet because I don't know if you're going to sentenced me today, and I don't want to give them that money. I wanted to wait till after. So, you know. So.
Well, that's the thing. You can't really make every decision that you want to make because, you know, money and practical logistics all play into it. So we're going to stay on this story, Michael, and we're going to see how it plays out. Your next hearing in that court is going to be what, March?
March 25th.
25th.
Yeah, 25th. So.
All right.
Yeah, right after my birthday, not too long after my birthday. So.
Hopefully it'll be a happy birthday.
Yeah, I hope so too. Yep.
All right, Michael. Well, listen, thanks for talking to me, and we'll speak to you again soon.
Thanks, Jason. Thanks for coming out to Phoenix, man.
Absolutely. And thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you later.